All right, we're diving into some cool stuff today. 1976 quarters, you brought a bunch of info, and looks like you want to get the lowdown on what they're worth and what to look out for.
Yeah, we're going to see if there's any hidden treasure out there.
Yeah.
Maybe something you could find in your pocket change.
Exactly. We've got excerpts from coinvaluechecker.com. Looks like that's a good resource for coin values. And a YouTube short from Blue Ridge Silverhound. This guy seems to know his errors.
Yeah, so we're on a mission to figure out not just what these quarters are worth, but what makes certain ones special. You know,
Yeah.
the kind of thing that would impress other coin collectors.
Absolutely. Let's kick things off with a little history lesson. It was the Bicentennial, a big year for America.
Right, and these quarters, they were special commemorative coins issued to celebrate the occasion.
I read that the Treasury wasn't too keen on the idea at first.
Yeah, they had that commemorative coin issue back in '52. The coins didn't sell well and just ended up in circulation.
Yeah, the politicians weren't happy about that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there was so much enthusiasm for bicentennial coins. They
Yeah.
went ahead with it. And that's how we got these quarters.
So the heads side, or the obverse, it's the same old George Washington we all know.
Right, but the tail side, the reverse, that was open to a design competition.
Must have been a lot of entries.
Oh yeah, close to 900 designs were submitted. Tough decision. But in the end, they went with Jack L. R's design.
A colonial drummer with a victory torch.
You got it. But there was actually some controversy surrounding the drummer.
Oh, really? What happened?
Another artist, William A. Smith, he said that R copied his design because they both had drummers.
Oh, so it was like a big design off.
Yeah, R said that his design was inspired by his own son.
Mm.
And the mint director, Mary Brooks, she decided the designs were different enough. So R's drummer ended up on the quarter.
Did R ever say anything about the whole controversy?
He did say he wished he had more time to polish the design, but kind of funny. He felt the mint chief engraver's tweaks made it better.
Huh. So maybe a little collaboration there. Speaking of the design, let's break it down on the obverse classic Washington profile facing left. But there's a twist.
Yeah. The dual date, 1776-1976. Very cool.
And on the reverse, you've got the drummer, the victory torch encircled by 13 stars, representing the original 13 colonies.
Of course, e pluribus unum, out of many, one, a real theme of unity. And you can even find the designer's initials, JLR, hidden above dollar.
Oh, wow. I never noticed that before. So we've got the history, the design, but before we talk about what they're worth, we should mention the different types of 1976 quarters out there.
You bet. Two main types, clad and silver clad quarters, have a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper nickel.
So that's what gives them that silvery look.
Exactly. They look a lot like the silver quarters, which are actually 40% silver. The rest is copper.
There's a slight difference in weight, but we'll see later why the silver ones are worth more.
Right. And then we've got the mint mark. No, mint mark means it was made in Philadelphia. D for Denver, and S for San Francisco, where they made both the regular and the proof silver quarters.
Those mint marks can really affect the value. It's like a little code that tells you where the coin came from.
Okay, so here's the deal. Those bicentennial quarters you find in your pocket change. Unless they have a really cool error, they're usually only worth 25 cents.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean all bicentennial quarters are just pocket change.
Definitely not. A few things can make them worth a whole lot more.
Like condition. A circulated quarter. One that's seen a lot of action, it won't be worth much. We're talking about uncirculated graded coins here.
Think of it like a report card for coins, with grades like MS63, MS65, and so on, gem quality. The top of the line starts around MS65.
So those grades show how pristine a coin is, and as the condition gets better, so does the price.
Absolutely. A small jump in grade can mean thousands of dollars.
That's wild. The Coin Value Checker article mentioned a Philadelphia quarter graded MS68 sold for $4,500.
Wow.
A Denver MS68 sold for a bit less, $3,750. Still, not bad for a quarter. And if you have a silver proof with a deep cameo, that's where you get that really nice contrast between the mirrored background and the frosted design graded PR70. You could be looking at $160 per coin.
That's definitely not pocket change anymore.
Yeah.
But you know what really gets people excited? Errors.
Yeah, those are like the misprints of the coin world. And they can make a coin super valuable.
Because even in a super controlled environment like a mint, mistakes can still happen.
Oh, yeah. Could be a misaligned die, a double strike, even a clipped edge. These little flaws can make a common coin into a collector's item.
One that stood out to me was the 1976D double die obverse error. That's where you see a doubled image of Washington's face.
That one's a classic. Even a worn-out one can be worth $20.
And a well-preserved one, graded MS66, sold for over $8,000. Can you believe that?
That's amazing. Imagine finding that in your change jar.
There's also a 1976 meat a quarter with a double clip, like two little bikes taken out of the edge of the coin. Even that sold for $89.
Clips happen when the metal blank isn't punched out right before they strike the design. So a misaligned die can shear off a piece of the coin, leaving those clipped edges.
It's kind of cool how something so small can make such a big difference in value.
The double clip on that quarter wasn't even the same all the way around. One clip was curved, the other was straight. It's like the coin had a run of bad luck during production.
Speaking of unusual errors, remember that Blue Ridge Silverhound YouTube short? He showed a bicentennial quarter with a tiny rim cut, a raised line along the edge. Even that went for $10.
It's interesting how the bicentennial quarter being so popular makes even minor errors worth more. That same rim cut on a regular quarter might only be worth a few bucks.
So it's like a bonus for error coins. Collectors love them for their history and design, and any imperfections just make them rarer and even more interesting.
Exactly. It adds to the story of the coin. Yeah, it's
Yep.
like finding a misprint in like a first edition,
Yep.
of a book. The misprint itself might be small, but the context makes it valuable.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It's funny, we haven't really talked about the treasury not wanting to make these coins in the first place. Remember that mess back in 52?
Oh yeah, really shaped how they approached the bicentennial coins. Imagine the pressure they must have felt.
Definitely a lot of eyes on them. But in the end, they went for it, and it seems like the bicentennial quarters have been pretty popular, especially the ones with errors.
For sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of errors, that Coin Value Checker article had a big list of different types of errors and their value.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy how many variations there are. One that caught my eye was the 1976 die D quarter with what's it called? The double die obverse.
Right, the double die, super popular among collectors. Even a beat-up one can be worth like 20 bucks.
And the value skyrockets for a well-preserved example.
Yeah.
Like that MS-66 that sold for over $8,000.
Wow, that's insane. Talk about a return on investment.
That's the allure of rarity. The better the condition, the more unique the error, the more people want it.
It's that thrill of owning something special, a little piece of history that nobody else has.
Absolutely. They also talked about a 1976 D quarter with a double clip. Remember those two little bites out of the edge?
Yeah, clips happen when they don't punch out the metal blank correctly,
Yeah.
and then a misaligned die can actually take a chunk out of the coin.
It's kind of wild to think about how things can go wrong, even in a high-tech process like that.
Right. And get this, the double clip on that quarter, it wasn't even symmetrical. One was curved and the other was straight. Double whammy.
Haha, poor coin. Makes you wonder how many unique coins are out there just waiting to be found.
Oh, tons, I bet, sitting in change jars, old collections.
Just waiting for someone to discover them. Speaking of discoveries, that Blue Ridge Silverhound YouTube short, the one with the tiny rim cut on the bicentennial quarter.
Right. Crazy how something so small can make it worth more.
He said it sold for $10.
Yeah, I bet that same rim cut on a regular quarter wouldn't even be noticed.
Probably not. The bicentennial design really bumps up the value of any error.
Like each error is part of the coin's story, makes it one of a kind.
It's not just a mistake. It's a unique feature. So to recap, we've got the clad and silver quarters, we've gone deep into the world of errors, and how even small imperfections can make a coin worth a lot more, especially with the bicentennial design.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. It makes you wonder what people do when they find these valuable coins. Do they sell them? Keep them? Or maybe just spend them without even realizing what they have?
That's a good question. It reminds us that we're talking about real objects with real value, not just some abstract concept.
For sure. And there's this whole world out there beyond just the coins themselves. Collectors, dealers, people who are really passionate about this stuff.
It's like a secret society with its own language and history. I'm starting to see why people get so hooked on coin collecting.
It's more than just a hobby. It's a way to connect with history and appreciate the artistry of these little pieces of metal.
We've been talking about 1976 quarters, but they're just one tiny part of a much bigger story.
Right. Every coin, from the penny to the silver dollar, has its own unique tale to tell.
It's almost like each coin is a tiny time capsule, carrying a piece of the past with it.
That's what makes numismatics so fascinating. Connecting with the past in a tangible way. It's not just about the money. It's about the art, the history, the stories.
So before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's think about what this all means for our listeners. Why should they care about the value of these coins?
Well, for one, it's a fun way to learn about history and design. Even if you're not a hardcore collector, understanding coins can change how you see everyday objects.
It's about seeing the stories behind things we take for granted. And there's also the thrill of the hunt. You never know what you might find in your pocket change.
Right. With a little knowledge, you could find a valuable coin just hiding in plain sight. And beyond the money, there's the historical significance. These bicentennial quarters are real reminders of a huge moment in American history.
They're like little time capsules that connect us to the spirit of 76 and the celebration of America's 200th birthday.
You got it. And who knows? Maybe you'll even want to start your own coin collection. You could focus on 1976 quarters or branch out into other interesting coins from different eras.
Ultimately, it's about more than just the money. It's about appreciating the art, the history, and the unique stories that each coin holds. It's a way of connecting with the past and understanding the world in a whole new way. All right, so we've learned a lot in this deep dive. We've covered the history, the design, the different types of 1976 quarters, and of course, those cool errors.
Yeah, we just scratched the surface, really. There's a whole world out there when it comes to numismatics.
True, but let's talk about how to actually spot these valuable coins. What are some practical tips for our listeners?
Well, first off, you got to pay attention. Don't just look at your change. Really look at those 76 quarters.
Examine them.
Yeah, exactly. Look for anything that seems off. Could be a doubled image, something missing, an unusual mark, or even those little things on the rim we talked about.
Like you gotta be a detective.
That's it. Searching for clues. A good magnifying glass can help too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And good lighting.
Absolutely. You'll see things you'd never notice with the naked eye. Don't be afraid to get hands-on either. Feel the edges for bumps or anything weird. Those little tactile clues can be really helpful.
So let's say you think you found an error. What's the next step?
Well, don't get too excited right away. Not every little scratch or ding is a genuine error. You know what I mean?
Right, so how can you tell if it's the real deal?
That's where resources like that Coin Value Checker article are super useful. They have a whole list of errors. And there are other good coin grading guides out there. They can help you figure out what to look for.
Like a cheat sheet for coin collectors.
Exactly. Knowledge is key. The more you know, the better you'll get at spotting those hidden gems.
And if you're still not sure, it's always a good idea to talk to a coin dealer or an expert, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They can tell you if it's the real deal or not. Make sure you're not barking up the wrong tree.
So we've given our listeners some good tips to get started. But before we wrap things up, let's zoom out a bit. What's the bigger picture here?
We've been focused on 1976 bicentennial quarters. But their story is just one small piece of a much larger puzzle. The world of numismatics.
Every coin has a story to tell.
Right, exactly. It's a story of history, of art, of economics, even human error. Every coin has passed through so many hands, seen so much history.
It's like holding a little piece of time.
So next time you're holding a coin, any coin, take a second to really appreciate it. Think about where it's been, what it's seen, the hidden value it might have. You never know. You might just be holding a little time capsule that connects you to the past.
That's a great way to think about it. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of 1976 quarters. Hopefully you've enjoyed the journey and you're feeling inspired to go explore the fascinating world of coins.
Yeah, get out there and a happy coin hunting. Maybe you'll find some treasure hiding in your pocket change.